Hey guys, what's going on? It's me. It's the Original Gamer, Stevie Stroh. How are ya? And I want to give you a sneak peek at my latest update of Cosmic Aliens. This is now version work in progress .13 is how I'm just numbering this. And today is July the 6th, and the version I'm going to show you I updated yesterday, July the 5th. So perhaps we will go ahead and just start by showing off the game, but what I would also like to show you guys is some of the source code and the routines and logic I'm working on, as well as just kind of a high-level view of how I'm doing this so far. So this is going to be a little bit more of a tech preview. So technically I'm going to be filing this one under my Programming in Basic series as another lesson or chapter. So let's take a look at the game. Because it has riveting sound effects, I will go ahead and put on my headphones. I'll do sarcasm intended here, and let's take a look at the latest version. Follow CosmicAliens.com. Boom. All right, so what did you see that was new? Well, you saw the follow CosmicAliens.com. That was just something to be on screen for a second while a few other things were happening behind the scenes. And now what you see is a game over / attract screen. So we're going to start off in this game over mode. The fact that I have a game over mode now also means that the game can actually end. Up until now, I have not let myself die completely, meaning running out of lives and ending the game. The game has just let me play forever because I needed to test the ability to cycle through all of the aliens, all of the waves, all of the extra life features, things like that. So I needed to test that the game was progressing naturally the way it should. So up until now I've been on kind of like God mode in the game, but now I'm very mortal. So this is where we start. You'll also notice in the top right hand corner that there is an initial high score of 10,000 that you'll have to try to beat. For the time being, that high score is just baked into the program as a variable, and every time you start the game it will always start off at 10,000. Ultimately I will get to the point where I will allow you to have like a top 10 leaderboard of names and scores, and those will be able to be saved to disk. So if you leave and come back, you won't lose your high score or your initials. So here's where we are. You'll also notice now that I am back to double buffering. I'm using the page copy routine, and the aliens are not blinking anymore. So I've got a little bit more polish, but at the cost of speed. My frames per second, my cycles, the clip is noticeably slower. And listen, it's in basic. This is as good as it's going to get. So let's go ahead and start the game, and let's see. Ready Player One. I'll replace the random bleeps and bloops with a couple of things that sound more like music. Right now it's just quick and dirty. So one of the things we'll see here is, boom, I got the alien. Now, since I added the UFO, the game has slowed down. Oh, I just lost a ship. The game has slowed down because I have to now check for more things every game cycle. And not only do I have to check for the presence of the alien and moving of the alien, but I now also have to check in my shot routine as my laser fires going through the air. Does the laser hit an alien? And then I also have to check in a for next loop, is my laser hitting one of the X number of aliens on the screen? And to simplify things and to save a little bit of speed, I've now reduced the maximum number of on-screen aliens to about 5, to where it still seems like it pretends. Now you just notice there that my bullet went through the bomb. This is a byproduct of a change I've made, and right now we're going to call that a feature. But one of the things I tried to implement yesterday was when you get down to your last alien, he became kind of like a boss, and then he was just going to keep dropping a whole bunch of bombs, like up to about 5 bombs. So he would be just draining a river of bombs on you. Now, in order to do that, I had to retool all of the routines and the arrays, the whole 9 yards, and two things happened. The entire game slowed down even more, and the whole concept of him raining bombs, well, it wasn't like rain, it was like, wow, look at that really slow thing up there that I can easily avoid. It was kind of like that. So it really defeated the purpose of him being a boss and providing more of a challenge. What I've done now, which I kind of originally planned to do, and I pulled it off a lot more simpler and more creatively, is my idea of the boss was really the last alien was going to be what the next wave of aliens was going to look like. And I've already achieved that, and I've achieved that in a very simple way of just checking for a few things. So right now the last alien is what wave 2's alien is going to look like. And can I shoot him? I've also changed it now where if the alien gets to the bottom of the screen, he does not loop back to the top, because I found that was just a little too much of a pain in the arse. And when you're down to one alien and he's up high, he's pretty damn near impossible to hit sometimes, because by the time your shot gets up there, he's changed his mind. Now I've also recently made a change where you can refire your shots, right? But I just found that your last alien, when he's too high, pain in the ass, right? So we're now on wave 2, and you'll notice that the wave 2 looks like the alien we just saw, the kind of the boss alien. What I'm hoping I can get to is an extra life, and then I will just go ahead and proceed to the game over. Because I spent an exuberant amount of time on this yesterday trying to implement this whole boss concept and the multi-bomb concept, I didn't make as much progress in adding anything new. So I was hoping to add the asteroid showers, which I did not get a chance to add, but I at least now have the kind of game over in attract mode. Now you notice that sometimes when I shoot, I don't hit the alien, because I changed the game logic a little bit, and I changed the order of how things get updated, and theoretically I'm updating the laser shot first, and then I update the bomb, and the bomb automatically checks for a collision on its way down. So it's reasonably safe to assume that if my shot has already moved first and then the bomb falls second, that collision detection only needs to be checked once. However, there are some times when it slips through the cracks, but since I have to check for hitting a UFO as well, if I have to check, and I'm having to check for hitting up to 5 aliens, now having to check for hitting a bomb too, well, it just puts more computation into the loop, and it's more crap to do. So at this point now, I'm going to leave it this way. So every now and then you won't shoot the bomb, and in a way that just makes the game a little bit more challenging, right? So now, okay, so I'm down to the last alien, and he has now changed this kind of chevron looking guy here, and this is what wave 4 is going to look like. And with any luck, I'll get my extra life, and I'll explain to you how I've updated the extra life counter here in just a second too. Come here, you slimy sucker. There we go. Extra life. Now, the extra life counter by default basically wants to go to 3,000. And before I just had it incrementing by 3,000. So 3,000, 6,000, 9,000. Now what it's going to do is it's going to add whatever it's going to add to itself whatever wave you are on times 1,000. So right now, since I'm on wave 3 when I got the extra life, it's adding 3,000 to 3,000. So next time, let's say I'm on wave 10, it's going to add like 10,000 to the extra life thing. So it's going to become progressively harder to get more men, because as you play the game longer, your wave complete bonus goes up too. So I wanted to try to kind of balance that. If you get too many points and just play forever. So you've seen most of the features now, right? So I've gotten the extra life, I've cycled through a few waves. I can now go ahead and just let the game end. So let's just go ahead and put me out of my misery, dude. Take me away. Take me away. And even now, this is embarrassing, but I'm trying to die and I can't die, right? So how hard is a game where when you want to die, you can't die? So boom, there we go. And when the game is over, it just switches to the game over mode / attract screen. So you've seen the new features. You have seen the fact that I've gotten rid of the blinkies. I'm now using double buffering again, which looks nicer but slows it down, but I would prefer the look over the minimal speed boost right now. The blinkies were the strobing effect was driving me crazy. So here's the game so far. So now let's take a peek behind the curtain at some of the things, and I'm going to show you some of the routines that I've created to do this too. The first thing I'll show you is just a and I don't know why this thing is like this. Hold on one second. I get this weird thing. Okay, here we go. That's why I couldn't see part of the screen. All right, so this is just a text document I've been maintaining to keep track of some vital statistics of the game, and I reference this a lot as I'm going through working on the game. So for example, I have listed out all the various routines. This is not the source code, but this is just some highlights. Here's the part I need to call to do this, and I have this on one screen while I have my source code and my middle screen, and I kind of go back and forth to do that. So you can see here where I've figured out some notes here, like my get and put variables. And so get and put is the magic ingredient here, and I've covered this in my programming series, and this is a color computer feature. Not all, almost every 8-bit computer had Microsoft Basic, but Color Computer had what Microsoft released that was called Extended Color Basic, and Extended Color Basic kind of became the template of all the features that would make their way into GW Basic on MS-DOS, and then later Quick Basic for DOS and the early versions of Visual Basic. All those features kind of started on Extended Color Basic. So to my knowledge, there were no other 8-bit sub $1,000 computers that had these features, the ability to get and put, draw, paint, circle, play, all these commands that you can still use today. So I'm getting and putting a lot of different things. So I've got the coordinates I'm storing for my X and Y. So I was tracking up to 8 aliens, tracking up to 8 bombs. I was tracking up to 8 bomb states, which I've enabled and then disabled. Now I'm back to just tracking only 1 bomb. I'm tracking coordinates of the rocks that are falling. Those would be my asteroids. My X and Y coordinates of my shots. I was originally thinking I would have up to 8 shots on screen, and so I could have multi-fire, but the more objects I have to track, the slower the game gets, so I'm trying to reduce my object count right now. Tracking my UFO coordinates. These are some of the absolute coordinates. These are some variables I dynamically update throughout the game, some absolute coordinates for the top and bottom corners of objects I need to paste things to. I've added the ability for my text X and Y coordinates, so my font rendering routine, I can pass a coordinate off to that to render this. So this is how you look. This is how you detect if a joystick button has been pressed and what the value you'll get. And then these are some of my main routines here. So line 100 through 110 kind of sets things, resets things. Line 20 clears the screen, increments the waves. Line 139 right around 140, that's the main game loop. Line 205 is where aliens change directions. This is where I decide which of the 8 aliens I'll put on screen. If I fire a laser, I turn that on. This is how I update the lasers. Turn on bombs, bombs falling, spaceship hit. So you can kind of see here, these are all the different line numbers to various parts of the program. All right, so this is a little cheat sheet I update for myself so I can quickly know where to go. Now here are some of the routines in the actual program. So this is where I start to dim out a lot of the arrays that are going to store either the variables or are going to be used to store graphics. So whenever you see these 2-dimensional arrays, these are the ones where I'm using to get the square box of information on the screen, and so it has to store the number of pixels wide by pixels tall. Now these few lines here, this is some quick and dirty stuff I did with the online semi-graphics editor. This is how I created the title screen. So I actually drew that using the online tool that Simon Jonason has created, and it's been updated a few times, so there's a few people working on that now. And so I'm kind of reading that in and printing off the first low-res graphic screen that says Cosmic Aliens. I print the version here. This is where I load in the background graphics. Those background graphics were created with a tool that Paul Thayer gave me to create these. And so I'm just loading in a binary file that puts all the pictures on the screen, and then I go through here and I basically get all of these pictures. This is where I'm getting in all the graphical data for everything. Now this is where I start to have my fonts routine. So this is all the information that we use using the extended basics draw command to draw letters and numbers. And so this is all the data that would be those draw statements. I read those into arrays and I try to make them match the ASCII value of what they would be for my characters, because I have a routine that just scans a string, converts each one into ASCII, does a lookup, and draws the picture from there. So here is my little routine here that reads in the data for the fonts. And then I manually added a few pieces of data for the space, for the period, and the exclamation point. And I keep forgetting to fix my exclamation point. This is where I start the first screen here that just says follow Cosmic Aliens. And you notice here, when I want to print something on the screen, the way I've set it up is I just set up a T string for text. And so my T string right now equals follow cosmicaliens.com. I set the X value, the Y value, the color, and then I go sub 590, which is my font render routine. So I can just basically take a string, XY coordinate, color, pass it off, and boom, it'll put it on the screen in a particular location and color and graphically do my fonts. And then this is where now, before I just used to loop all the way down and start the game, but now I've jumped to the end, going to line 700 to start my game over routine. Line 100 is where the game actually starts. This was a slightly new feature that I put in here that started with the Ready Player One, right? And again, here's the T string for text, X coordinate, Y coordinate, color, and render font, right? This is where I set my variables. Bomb state equals 0, bomb is turned off. We're starting my enemy state is 1. Actually, I can get rid of that. That's a variable I was going through before to determine if an enemy was on or off. Extra lives starts off at 3000. Maximum alien is 5. SP is my spaceship coordinate, and there's a total of 16 positions. I just put myself at 8, so I'm roughly dead center. This is where I start the game. Again, I think shot X, shot Y, shot state, I turn off the shot state, so there's no laser in motion. I turn off the bomb state. Go sub 610. I don't remember what 610 was, but this is where I would go back and check my other document. Okay, 610 is the routine that refreshes the aliens on the screen. You see how easy that was? Right, because I don't remember what I was doing here. So why did my program start over again? So I was down here. I'm looking at my main game loop right now. So this is where I set the stage. Go sub 610 was to set that part up. This is where I do all that kind of stuff. Here's the, okay, so that's line 130 says go sub 610. Now here's my main game loop. I go sub 640, which checks for the joystick. I increment my alien counter. So it's a current alien equals current alien plus 1, and I just cycle through the number of aliens. I only deal with 1 alien at a time. And right now, I designed the game to support up to 8, but for speed purposes, I've limited that to 5 right now. But every cycle, I'm only dealing with one of the total number of aliens. If I had to deal with every alien every cycle, the game would be incredibly slower. And then this is where I set the X and Y coordinates of that particular alien, so I know where to put them on the screen. And this is where I will go sub 1 of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different routines that will put 1 of the 8 aliens on screen. I check to see if a button has been pressed. The BP variable will be turned on with my joystick routine. If I have pressed 1, then I'm going to go sub line 345, which is how I fire laser. If my shot state is equal 1, once I've fired a laser, shot state is turned on, and whenever the laser is on, I'm going to go sub a routine within the main game loop that moves the laser up the screen. All right, now this says if my UFO state is 0, meaning there's no UFO on the screen, and then if I pick a random number, if I draw 2 out of a hat of 15, then I will turn on the UFO. At this point here, it says if the UFO is on, then go sub 655, which is a UFO movement that moves them across the screen. This one says if bomb state equals 1, then go sub 405, which moves the bomb down 1 position each cycle. So it's just checking for things being on and off, and if they're on, I go to a routine that does something, and then I come back. If my player score is greater than the extra life value, then I'm going to go sub the routine that brings up the extra life on the screen. Go sub 605, this is a routine that does the P copy, that just copies the foreground to the background, and then I go right back to the main loop. So basically from line 135 to line 200 here, this is the main game loop. It's pretty small, but it calls a whole bunch of different routines, and each one of these routines takes up a little bit more space. So like one of the first ones it says here is go sub 205. 205 is where I figure out where my alien is going to be on the screen, pick a random direction, and then based on those directions, the first thing I'll do is I'll erase it where it currently is, and then based on its direction I'm going to figure out, well, am I going to update just, you know, my X and Y coordinates so I can pick these different directions. Right now this is all happening randomly. I'm also thinking that at this point too, instead of there's a way to improve this logic in BASIC, to tune this a little tiny bit, which I haven't quite done yet, but I'll get to there. So this routine here says, well, pick a number and pick a new direction. I've got 8 different directions. If you imagine like a grid of 9, 0 being the center and kind of going clockwise, this is kind of going clockwise from the center. So I've got right, you know, diagonal, down, diagonal, left, up, diagonal, up, right, diagonal. So it's kind of like making a stop sign shape around the clock. These are the 8 directions you can choose. I'm thinking what I'm going to do in a future thing is, rather than making this random, I'm going to put in a bunch of patterns in an array, and it's just going to read through these patterns, and so your ships will follow different patterns, and so that's going to make it less random and might improve the speed just a little bit. But right now, almost all of my games historically in the past just use random number generation for controlling what the bad guys do. And then this is the thing that says, based on what my enemy state is between 1 and 8, I will basically put on the screen one of those 8 objects that I captured into memory before. Here's my shot logic, where I will play a little sound. The first thing I do is I erase whatever used to be there before, and then I set the X coordinate of my shot. So my shot X is the same position as my spaceship. The shot Y is 1 above me. There's 12 vertical grid positions, so he's become 1. I turn the shot state on, and then I just go back. So when you press the button, this routine just makes a sound and says, boom, the shot state is on. I've defined my X and Y coordinates of where my laser is. This is the routine that then will animate the bullet as it's going through the air. So the first thing I'll do again is I'm going to erase whatever used to be there, and then I subtract 1, meaning it's going to go up one position higher. I then put the laser position, the laser graphic in that spot. This is where I check to see if I hit the UFO. If my shot X equals the UFO X and my shot Y equals UFO Y, and the UFO state is 1, meaning it's on, then I'm going to go sub the routine that makes him explode and gives me points. If I'm less than 2, meaning my bullet has left the screen, then I end. And then this is the routine right now, which I would like to be able to approve, which is checking for did I hit an alien. So from whatever my maximum alien count is, I'm going to go from 1 to that. I'm going to check the coordinates of my shot versus the X and Y coordinates of the alien, and if I hit them, I'm going to the routine that explodes the alien and gives me points, and then I do this. So I had to add this whole loop right here within the shot state as it's going through to check to see if my bullet hit any of the available aliens on screen. I would like to find a way to improve that. So this is how I turn on the bomb states. This is where I animate the dropping of the bombs. On the way down, I can check to see if a bomb hit a laser, right? So if my shot state is 1, meaning my laser is alive, and my bomb state, my bomb X equals shot X and my bomb Y equals shot Y, then I am going to say, okay, well, I have now hit the laser. And then this is going to check to see if it hits the ship. So if the Y position is 11, which is the bottom, and the X position is my spaceship, then boom, I have been hit. So that collision detection has been pretty easy. And then if none of those things exist as it's going down, I just put the bomb on the screen and I return. So you can kind of see here, I've just kind of broken these things up into little routines that I can call from the main program. I showed you the main program was pretty easy, right? So this is this kind of little peek in here, and the whole program's not that big right now. So this is kind of me scrolling through the whole program, and a lot of the program is really just the data for the fonts. And if I wanted to be sneaky and I wanted to save the size of my program, I could probably write this stuff out to a file and just load it from that file. That might make the beginning take a few seconds longer to get things done, but rather than having all this data in the code, which I kind of got smart with graphically, I don't have any code to generate graphics. This line here is the line that generates all the graphics. I load in a binary file that fills the screen with images that I then capture into memory. I could do something similar to where I could just load in the font data. I could do that. Right now it's kind of written out. It's not terrible, but I could find some ways to make the program a little smaller. I can find some efficiencies along the way, but long story short, right now I just kind of want to keep going through the game and just keep making the game, because if you get too caught up in the details and the processes and everything else, you can just go crazy trying to reach nirvana. So I'm just making some executive decisions. A lot of things I'm doing right now, I'm just doing quick and dirty to get them done. I'm trying to think as efficiently as possible, but there are sometimes I'm going to say, yeah, I know, but screw it, we'll worry about that later. So that is happening to some extent on a few things, and again, hopefully these will get better. So what can you expect next? You can expect next, hopefully, the asteroid shower phase, which is, I'm really looking forward to playing that part. I'm not necessarily looking forward to figuring out how to make it work, but I'm looking forward to playing it. I've had a few people ask me, can I see the source code, or can I get a copy of the source code? Well, I've just kind of showed you some of the source code. I will hopefully, I don't know what my ultimate plan of releasing this is, because I'm still going to figure out, can I get it in a compiler? If I can get it in a compiler and compile it to run any faster and release it as a binary, that would be my preferred way to release it, so it'll play faster. But I'm not really concerned about releasing the source code, but I just don't want to release the source code right now until I'm done. So if I end up releasing this as just the basic version of the game, by me releasing the game, you're going to have the source code anyways. But if I do that, I'll also have it kind of copied and pasted into a text file, so if somebody just wants to look at it and try to follow along for curiosity reasons or whatever else, that's fine. So there it is. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed this peek at the latest version of Cosmic Aliens version 13. And by the way, as much as I do want this to be my pet project and my baby, and I want to go through my own struggles and growing pains and learn as I go, I will also enlist some minor assistance from somebody who says, oh yeah, I just noticed that you did this, and if you do it that way, it's going to be faster. So I'm not opposed to somebody saying, hey, here's something you can do to improve X, Y, or Z. But what I really don't want is somebody saying, hey, just send me your code and I'll tweak it for you and I'll send it back to you, because then I'm not learning anything. So I don't want anybody to rewrite this and optimize it for me, but I would definitely invite somebody's input on things I can do to tweak it or improve it, by all means. Alright guys, I don't know how long this has been going on, but I tend to babble. But I just thought some people might find it interesting to see the internals versus just the visuals of the game. So hopefully one or two of those people did. Alright guys, this is it. Steve Strauss, and peace out, and we'll see you next time.